and I put it on Amazon, and nobody made a purchase for like 6 months. Nothing happened.
No
It was
way.
Crickets, right? I forgot about it. Like straight up forgot about that. I forgot that we had this brand. We had this thing listed on Amazon. 6 months later, I got an email. Ding. And my Seller Center app went off, and I was just like, what? What is this? Like, I just sold a Scorch Marker. Oh my God, somebody wants this? Mind you, we had like one picture on there. It was terrible quality. The label sucked. We had no UPC code. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And I was like, okay, cool. I rush out to the garage and I fill it up and I package it. I put an envelope and I ship it off. And I was like, wow, that was cool. You know? And then like 3 months later, another sale. So we're like 9 months to a year in, and I've sold 2, mind you. But it was that second sale, something special happened because it happened again. And I was like, I think there's something here. What would happen if I put effort into it and actually gave it my attention instead of just parking it on the sideline and hoping for someone to discover it? And then we created an Instagram account. And then we started sending the product to people just to see what they thought about it. You know, and then it just kept happening after that. So for me, the process was very slow in the beginning. It took a long time.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Evan, welcome to the Makers Can Learn Unfiltered podcast. I'm so excited to have you. You have been one of my dearest friends, but for such a short amount of time. Yeah. First of all, y'all, you have no idea what type of celebrity status we have here.
No.
I got introduced to Evan.
Come on.
I got introduced to Evan due to his brand Scorch Marker. And we got in an email thread. We scheduled the time and got on the call, had a great call. And then I get off the call and like browse his social media. Y'all, Evan's like TikTok sensation and Instagram celebrity. So everybody wants to know about social media. We'll definitely talk about it. But Evan, introduce yourself. Welcome to the podcast.
We can talk about that for sure. I would love to. Tanner, I really appreciate you having me on. I've loved talking to you. We're friends. And so I feel like this is just another conversation that we get to have as friends, and that's really cool. But other people get to listen in and be a fly on the wall. And that's a special thing because you have accomplished some incredible things, and I can't wait to talk about those with you. For those of you that don't know me, I'll give you the Cliff Notes. My name's Evan. I started out as a firefighter, like after doing a bunch of entrepreneurial type of work. I was like, I need something regular. I need a paycheck. I am too worried about like not having regular money coming in. So I went to my dad and I'm like, hey, I want to be a firefighter just like you. What do I do? And so, 5 years later, testing and doing all this stuff, I got hired as a fireman. Went to paramedic school, did all that stuff. But while I was at the fire department, I still had that itch, like the wanting to sell your stuff kind of itch. And the wanting to like just build a business type of itch. And so about 8 years into the fire service, I left. I left to run my companies full time, and my company being Scorch Marker, a wood burning crafting marker that my wife and I invented while working on a plaque for the fire department. They're very connected. So fast forward to today, and now I run our business full time, and I teach other people how to also build up their e-commerce company at the same time.
So cool, y'all.
It's cool.
Evan is a wealth of knowledge. He's so amazing. You're going to enjoy this conversation. But I have heard your story many times, mainly off of your TikToks.
Yeah.
But I actually want to know a little bit about what you did before the fire department, because I didn't know your story, or your entrepreneurial journey would start before that. What were you doing prior to the fire department? Because I've only heard fire department, Scorch Marker.
Yeah, the fire department started when I was like 21, that whole journey. So from like 16 to 21 was just job after job after job, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I think we all started out like mowing lawns, selling lemonade. In my case, I did a lot of CDs. I sold a lot of CDs, It's like, hey, give me the list of the songs you want. I would go on like Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa, and I would download all these things and I would burn them and, sell CDs for like $5. I just was like, it's an extra way to earn. I can have freedom if I can have money. I can buy my time back and I can be free. And I think that's what I understood really young. I just didn't know how to make it happen, more or less.
Yeah.
So worked in restaurants and all that other stuff too.
when you were 16, how, like, what did you think you were actually going to do to, like, make it? Like, what did you think? You had no idea.
No, I didn't even think about it. I couldn't even think that far ahead, Tanner. It was just kind of like,
really,
what seems like a good idea at the time. And I didn't know that was the wrong way to think. It was just the only way that I knew. And so I had to be around people that thought differently in order to change it. And that's when things started to change.
And was that at the fire department?
I would say yes. That was the first time I was really exposed to people who started to think a little bit differently, but still kind of thought along the same parallel as me. And I'm like, oh, we're both firemen, but you think differently and you can do X. Well, I'll just think differently and then I can do X. And this is true. It worked. Yeah, it was
amazing.
Crazy. I know. So that's why I say you just got to be around other people.
Did you have a year that you were like changing everything? Because if I go back, like 2017 was my year where I like took apart all of my thoughts. I borrowed other people's and I applied it. And I go back and I'm like, I need to have another one of those years. Like, what was that time period for you? Whether it was a few months, a year, like what was it?
Yeah, there was a couple times when that happened. And the first time was right after I quit the fire department. The second time was this year. So I'm in it right now.
Wow,
I'm really intrigued by that question, because if I look back, I can see the same type of things are happening, just at different levels, right? So back when I left the fire department, I was making content on social media, trying to teach people about all these business things that I learned. I'm trying to grow Scorch Marker. It's at the end of the pandemic, end of 2020. And everybody was blowing up on social media. So I'm like, I got to make all this content. I got to run this business. I got to do all these things. So I had shiny object syndrome, like really bad at that time, but it's still one of those times where everything changed, because I got clear on what I wanted. Started working with coaches and I was like, I want to stop working at 5:00 in the evening. Like, can you help me figure out how to do this? And that's when I started going down the delegation path. I started learning how to rely on others and ask who, not how, and just things that started to elevate you beyond the single person business owner. Right. A lot of us are skilled tradespeople. A lot of us are really good at one thing.
We like to work.
Yes. And that's all I knew was like, oh, I'll just do it myself. I'll just build the website. I'll just build the product. I'll just get on the sales call, whatever.
We can trust you.
Yeah. And so I didn't know how to work with other people, and that was a big change for me right then.
Wow. What I really have to go back to, I mean, we could probably spend a whole podcast like figuring out how you invented and like all of it, but what it really boils down to, I think, for our listener is they're hearing like posting content online, teaching people, building a brand on Amazon, like building a brand in general, inventing something, Evan. How did you get out of your own way? Because I think a lot of our viewers here know they're in their own way right now. Like, what was it for you? Was it desperation to leave the fire department? Was it you're just clueless and you just didn't even know you're out of your own way? You're just doing it? Like, how did it happen?
Part of it was being clueless, honestly, Tanner, and just not knowing what I didn't know. Like, I swear, I know that sounds crazy, but I was just ignorant. I just didn't know any better. I was just like, hey, that guy put some stuff on Amazon. I could do that too. And so I'm just like, hey, sign up. Cool. I did it. Like, it wasn't so bad, but there's so much more to it. So that's why I say a lot of it was like total ignorance. The other part of it that was like helping me out on those down days where you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do the thing, was the desire to provide more for the people that are in my life. The opportunity creation for them. So I got kids, I got a wife, I got me. Like, my wife supports me 100%. She was behind me every single step of the way. I said, babe, I'm going to leave the fire department. We're going to quit, and this is what we're going to do. All right, let's do it together, you and me.
Let's go.
And I'm like, let's go. And so when you have that kind of support, you have stakes. And so those stakes really up the ante for me. And I was like, no, there's no quit here. So the combination of those two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, for everyone at home that's like, okay, now I can do that. I always talk about, for my viewer and my students inside of our Inner Circle program, where we teach people how to craft and sell what they're making. I always talk about that first order. So for you, how
best feeling.
How long, like, how did you feel when you got that first order?
Okay, so I want to be really clear about this, Tanner. When I created the Scorch Marker with my wife, like, I bought a bunch of empty markers, just plain empty chalk paint markers off from China. It cost me like $150, and they sent me 500 of them, and they were just blank pens. I went to Fry's and I bought a printer, and I bought label paper on Amazon so I could design and print out my own labels, and I cut them out with scissors. And like I filled up the pen with a syringe from the medic kit at the fire station, I just my thing, right? And I put it on Amazon, and nobody made a purchase for like 6 months. Nothing happened.
No
It was
way.
crickets, right? I forgot about it. Like straight up forgot about that. I forgot that we had this brand. We had this thing listed on Amazon. 6 months later, I got an email. Ding. And my Seller Center app went off, and I was just like, what? What is this? Like, I just sold a Scorch Marker. Oh my God, somebody wants this? Mind you, we had like one picture on there. It was terrible quality. The labels sucked. We had no
Who
UPC
cares?
code. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And I was like, okay, cool. I rush out to the garage and I fill it up and I package it. I put an envelope and I ship it off. And I was like, wow, that was cool. You know? And then like 3 months later, another sale. So we're like 9 months to a year in, and I've sold 2, mind you. But it was that second sale, something special happened because it happened again. And I was like, oh, I think there's something here. What would happen if I put effort into it and actually gave it my attention instead of just parking it on the sideline and hoping for someone to discover it? And then we created an Instagram account. And then we started sending the product to people just to see what they thought about it. You know, and then it just kept happening after that. So for me, the process was very slow in the beginning. It took a long time.
Yeah.
Our first year in business, we made like $8,000. You know, like it was nothing.
For a lot of people, that's a lot. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that's crazy. Wow. But it took 9 months to get to your second order. Can we talk more about what was going on between month 6 to 9? Like, were you, what was your thought? Like, were you thinking like, oh, this worked for him, but it won't work for me? Or, oh, like, was there thought of trying a different product? Or was there thought of like, oh, this online stuff isn't for me? Which route was your mind going to? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do, because I was on probation at the time with the fire department. Not a bad probation, good probation, just mind you. When you get hired as a fireman. Yes. When you get hired as a fireman and you pass the academy and they put you out in the world as a fireman at the station, there's 1 year time period. A timer starts, right? As soon as you get get released, and you can get fired for any reason at any time during this 1 year period. You have to prove that you have what it takes. So if you screw up on a medical aid, if you don't show up on time, if you drop the ball on fire, or bad things happen, you're gone. See ya. And so like that was a really big deal for me because I had to be high and tight, like on it. And so I would focus all my attention on probation and making sure that I passed and got this job at the fire department. But on my weekends and, when I wasn't there, I was, seeing what I could do on the side to make some extra money. And so it was an afterthought until it became not an afterthought. And that was the flip-flop, Tanner. It was just like, how much of my attention am I going to give to it? And it didn't grab my attention until I realized that, oh my gosh, people actually are looking for things like this. So I was focused on probation.
I have a sticky note at my home office. I love it. I have a sticky note at my office that says, I believe it says, where energy goes, focus goes. Like,
100%.
So like where you give that energy is like where you're going to focus and where the efforts go come from. And I think about it often. I'm like, where is my energy going? And half the time I'm like, this is the wrong areas.
So you would probably also agree that what you focus on increases.
Yeah. Anything that you steward and that you look after and you ask yourself the simple question. Like, I love asking students, like, why do you think it's not selling? And they're like, well, I did a mock-up and I didn't do an actual example. And I'm like, well, that's a thought. That's a potential. So I love that. What were the first few things that you chose while you were still a firefighter to work on?
That's
to
a
get
really
the social
good
media
question.
up? Was that the first one?
Yeah, so I didn't know any better. Mind you, I had no experience, no education, coming from a high school graduate who went to technical trade school, right? Fire academy, paramedic school. I've been working blue collar pretty much my entire life. But I could speak to people because of all the jobs that I had. Like I was able to articulate. And I had done some freelance graphic design back in the day, and like all these different side jobs that I had leading up to the fire department all taught me like little skills that I could use in building a business. So for the first time, I opened up Instagram and I started an account for our business. I had never used it before, and I was just like, okay, I heard you got to post on this thing, so I just started making posts. And so that was the first thing that we did, and I started reaching out to influencers and people on social media and asking if I could just send them my product for free. And then I remember this one time, this guy named Jimmy DeRista. He has a Netflix show now, but back in the day, he was just, someone I liked to watch make things in his shop. He was a maker. I sent him a package, and he opened it up on one of his live streams, ripped it open. Hey, look at this marker from Evan. This is pretty cool. He tested it out, heated it up, and he was like, oh, right on. That was pretty great. And I sold 10 units. And for me, that was a really big deal. Never sold more than one in a day. And to see the Amazon chart go whoosh, like that, I was a believer in marketing ever since. And it changed everything. So then I just started growing it, trying to see, okay, what are other people doing? Oh, I'll try that. Oh, I'll try this. I'll try that. And I put attention and focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so fascinating because once... Thank you, Jimmy, for this 10 sales. Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy to see. Like, I think it does take that one action, that one thing to happen to like, wait, I've only sold one a day and then I could sell 10. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if more people were able to rely on a product or a service that isn't tied to them, and they could really scale that, right? Whether it's more crafts, whether it's a product of their own. Like, would you recommend people to invent more? Like, as an inventor, like I truly think of you as like my inventor friend. Like I don't see myself as an inventor. Yeah, I don't see myself as someone that invents things. I invent maybe thoughts and like curriculum, but that's about it. Like, what would you say to someone that's interested in just like toying around with like inventing something?
I would say solve your own problems and see if other people also need the solution too, because ultimately I was just solving a problem for myself, and you'd be surprised how many other people are also experiencing the same pain, the same problem. And so, like, who are you to say that no one's going to want this? Just try it, I guess. That's what I would say to them. A lot of inventions have just come about, like, what was it? The poopery stuff? The stuff you spray in the bathroom? Like, that was just an afterthought. The Scrub Daddy sold, like, literally billions of sponges. Like, just an afterthought. Like, I need a better thing. I need a better mousetrap. I need a better widget. So I'm just going to do it myself. And that's how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I see so many people in our space. I say our space is like businesses and like owners and people starting, and they feel like there's a difference between someone with 800,000 TikTok followers, or maybe someone could say like 600,000 YouTube subscribers, right? Like numbers. And they feel like there's something different between us. And I was on another podcast interview, and I was asking her what her secret was. And I was telling her that I was like looking at her social media. She has like a big Instagram. And I was like, what's your Instagram secret? And then I like answered it myself before asking. And I was like, you probably just mean like post, right? Like, is that really secret? She's like, yeah, I just post. I was like, that's what I would tell people on YouTube. But for you on social media, like, how did you not only have the courage to post your crafts and like what your invention's doing, you also have like I'm teaching and sharing what's working for me right now in business. How did that happen?
It's a really interesting thing. I don't know if you'll believe me when I say that I haven't used social media until 2020. Like, I just didn't.
Bonkers.
When you're getting hired with the fire department and they do these background checks and lie detector tests, they ask you for your Facebook logins, your Instagram logins, your Reddit logins, like, so they can scan all of it to see what kind of person you are, because they don't hire untrustworthy people. And so I'm like, it's easier to just not have it than it is to regulate it, because I don't trust all of these crazy friends of mine, right? And so I just didn't have social media. And so once I realized the power of it, it was in 2020. I was on a fire. I was fighting a wildland fire at the fire department, and I was on an assignment. Just filling up helicopters with water. Like that was my job on that assignment, was to fill up the helicopters with water so they could get more drops on this fire that was unreachable by foot. And so I was like, wow, this is really exciting for the first like 15 minutes. And then I was like, I'm bored. And so I just pulled out my phone and I started recording and documenting what we were doing. Right? And I just sat in the rig and I made a little video in between. And I put it up on TikTok and like 100,000 people watched it. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I got eyeballs on this. And so from that point forward, I was like, I see why people do this now. Those vanity metrics like gave me that dopamine hit, and I was like, I just need to channel this in the right direction. I was like, I don't want to talk about firefighting stuff forever. I'm just going to start talking about something that I really truly care about, and that's building my business and the mistakes that I've learned along the way. And that's how it just worked. I just started talking about it, and somehow people cared. But it took me like 9 months to find my voice. Probably like 100 plus pieces of content. And so that's why when you mentioned like you just got to start, you just got to post, that's true. You got to get your reps in. You got to practice, because I guarantee your first video is not going to get views, Like same for YouTube.
No.
Like you've amassed a wonderful following on YouTube, and it's a volume game. You just have to keep practicing. And if I guarantee you look at your last video versus your first video, you're going to see some improvements. So it's incremental improvements the whole time. And that's the only thing I've done is been consistent.
I love it. Evan just posted a video on Instagram of like some of his older videos. I was like, I've never seen these older videos of Evan. Like, it's so cool to see the evolution, because even me, like, to see like you're big on TikTok and like Instagram and things like that. I'm like, how do I do that? Like, why don't I? You know what I mean? Like, and then I have that thought, and then I'm like, wait, it's the same game of YouTube. Like when people say like, oh wow, I wish I could be a YouTuber. I'm like, come join us. Like it's just posting over and over, making those small shifts, the small changes every day. But true. When you've got your 10 sales, you had started on social, you started beginning to understand the marketing. I think it's so impressive. You had like just the common sense to be like, let's send some out for free and see what happens. Like that's beautiful.
I didn't know any better, dude.
Like that's so cool. So cool. So many people would be like, oh my gosh, they need to pay for this. But you're like leading with the giving, which I love. And then you start with social. When did it start, like the thought became, I could do this full time? Like when did that start?
It was the first time that we made $2,000 in a month. Yep. Wow. Yep. So
and how many Scorch markers? Is this like 12? How much was a Scorch marker back then?
Back then, I think it was like $15. Let's just round up for 20 for easy math. So we sold like maybe 100 in a month.
Sold 100.
You sold 100 a whole month. So like
you're selling like three a day, like almost 4 a day.
Yeah, 3 or 4 a day for about a whole month straight. And I was like, look at our balance. Like we had made $2,000 like in 1 month. Like that's insane. Like that's our rent. Like this could be real. Like we could, if we keep this up, we can replace our rent. And then that was the same frame that we used to make the decision to leave the fire department. Like, okay, well, how much money do I need to quit the fire department? It's like, oh, I need $6,000 a month. I got to replace my cash flow, my pension, and the benefits for the family. So as soon as we can pull $6,000 a month out of the business without crippling it, let's quit. Let's go full time. Let's see what happens. So we did. So yeah, same logic, just different time.
Did you wait like 3 months? You're like, wait, I gotta hit 6K a month for like 3 months. Like, did you like 6K gotta go? Like, what was it for you?
It was more like 6K gotta go. Yeah, it's because it was December. It was December of 2020, and I missed a lot of holidays as a fireman. I missed a lot of summers. I missed a lot of school plays. I missed a lot of parent-teacher conferences, and I was already not going to work Christmas Eve because somebody's got to work Christmas Eve. But if you work Christmas Eve, you get Christmas Day off. Like that was the rule, right? So I remember a captain walked in. It was like the beginning of December, like the first week, and he was like, "Hey, bud, chief just called. Bad news. You have to work Christmas as well. So you're not going to get to go home." And I was like, You know what, Cap? Do you think you can help me put in my 2 weeks instead? Because I'm not working Christmas Eve. I'm not working both. I'm not doing it. I quit. I'm done. And he was just like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, dead serious. Yeah. So I was like, I'll probably, I'm just going to burn the rest of my time. The rest of my time that I have on the books on my PTO vacation, I'm just going to burn it. I'm out. And so like, chief call, union president call, you sure you know what you're doing? And I'm like, what about your pension? What about, you're going to vest in, 6 months? And I'm like, yeah. I did the math. Doesn't make sense, man. Doesn't work for me and what I want to do. I really appreciate it. And this has been great, but I got to go. I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna be gone another Christmas. And so the only reason I was able to say that and do that was because of the business that I had been building for 3-4 years up until this point. While everyone else was relaxing, I was working on my business. On the weekends when I should have been, drinking beer and watching football, I was working on my business. At nighttime when the guys were watching TV in the recliners, I was sitting at the table on my laptop, learning how to do Facebook ads, learning how to build an Amazon store, learning how to build a website. So I don't want people to think that there wasn't any effort that I put in there. There was a lot, and it just had finally paid off at the end of 2020.
So amazing. And I mean, cool, honestly, for me, to hear you say that, some people might think, oh my gosh, you made it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's when the real stuff happens, because there's no other supplemental income, right? This is where it's hitting the fan one way or the other, right? Yep. To me, we have so many, I always talk to people about being unstable and things like that. So for you, what did you do from a practical standpoint to make sure to be proactive and have consistent sales? Because that's what it's all about in any of our businesses. We need consistency. And when you went all in, what was your game plan to be consistent with sales? Because we can market all day long, right? But we need constant sales.
Yeah, no, it's true. You got to keep the machine running, and you got to keep it going, and you have to put in effort. I will share with this discipline. Discipline is the answer. And the reason I say that is because when I was in my 20s, I started a mortgage company with a friend of mine doing reverse mortgages, and we were partners. We had an office, we did all kinds of stuff. Leads would come in, I would close them, and I would do these things, and I would help these people, but I wasn't disciplined enough to put in the effort and the work required to get the desired result and outcome. I didn't have the discipline as a human yet. As a man, I did not have the discipline yet. I hadn't been through those lessons, and I hadn't learned the value of those things. And so I learned that in the fire department. I learned that in the academy. I learned that in the tower. I learned that on probation. I learned how to show up for myself. I learned how to depend on myself. I learned where my limits were, both physical, mental, and emotional. And it was that skill set right there that gave me the discipline that I needed in order to make sure that I didn't quit. Because very easily you could leave a job and then just hang out. Hey, I don't have to go in today.
And then be like, oh, quick. Running my business didn't work out.
Yeah, no,
it just wasn't for me. So when you say discipline, for the audience, what is a practical action? What did it, did that mean you showed up at 8 a.m. and worked on your business every day when there was nothing to work on? When you're running your own schedule and self-employed, unfortunately and fortunately, no one's there. You don't have a captain saying you're working Christmas Eve, right?
That's right.
What are some practical ways you were able to discipline yourself?
Well, I first had to understand that it was 1% better a day was what I was trying to achieve. I was just trying to move it just an inch, right? Move the ball forward just a tiny bit, just trying to become 1% better than I was yesterday. So I viewed it as a competition with myself. And I was like, how can I be better than Evan yesterday? Can I be nicer? Can I be more kind? Can I do more work? Can I increase my efficiency? Can I output? Can I become a better leader? What can I do? And so I set up this acronym in my journal, build, and I would do something for, my body. I would do something for myself, which is the you. I would do something for my income, for my love and relationships, and then also my development. And so if I knew that if I just checked off each of those each day, I would start building the habits that would force me to become better than I was yesterday, because how can you not if you repeat these same actions every single day? So I was really trying to put habits in my life, that would really, really help. I digress. That's it.
Okay, you're just dropping bombs, and then you're like, oh, we'll move on. Who taught you build? I've been online since 2010 in personal development. I've never heard of this.
I don't remember where I saw it.
Do you remember?
Just a TikToker. Just a TikToker, man. Honestly.
TikToker?
Yeah, one
That's
TikTok
so
I saw, and he
cool.
was like, "Hey, here's how I make sure I'm doing better every day." And I was like, "Cool, got it." And then I just did it.
No way.
I'm not kidding when I say that TikTok has unlocked a lot of limiting belief breakers, because I'm not a visual learner. I'm not a hands-on learner. Just tell me one time. Just let me know that it's possible. And once I know it's possible, I'm like, oh, if they did it, I could do it. And I think
I
not enough
love
people
it.
understand that. Like, the people that are listening, like yourself, like, you're living proof. Like, if I can do it, like, I'm not special, I'm not unique. Just try it. Just do it. Like, if I can do it, you can, right? I think there's something
Right.
so simple and so beautiful in that. And if you could just put yourself around other people who have done it before, you're just looking around at like these 5 people, and you're like, they did it, they did it, they did it, they did it. Like, I could do it too. And so that's why I'm really
Yeah.
big on like surrounding yourself with the people that you want to become, who have what you want, because you will become them.
Yeah.
But if you're hanging out with people who aren't going where you want to go, you will become them. So choose your 5.
Yes. I truly believe you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And you can think of that like financially, spiritually, emotionally,
yeah.
physically, right? Like, really, you want to lose some weight. Well, get around people that are like active, like, get around people that want to have this. And I was telling Evan at the beginning of the call before we started recording, this whole podcast is here to be a walking example of what's possible
Yeah.
for all the people that I get surround myself with, for the viewer to say, wait, they're doing it, they're having thriving businesses, they're building teams, they're doing it. Like, I could be self-employed. Like, I could have a majority of my students just want to supplement their retirement so that they have
Yeah.
additional resources. They love their hobby while they're in retirement. That's beautiful. And like, you can take every single
Yes.
bite of this. I think so many of us, if anyone's leading into retirement or transitioning to work for themselves, like, this, framework that Evan has given you is a great starting point to say, how can I better myself in all the areas every single day? I love it.
I think you would agree with this, Tanner, if when we say that if you better yourself, you better your business. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of us are creators, owner operators. We're the skilled people. We make the thing. If we become better, the business becomes better too. And I think that is really, really true.
I constantly, like, with you and your journey, it blows me away that you've only been, I say only, but like, you've been in it since 2020.
Yeah.
Because like, I've been online, since 2010. So like, I've been through it. So to see like how you're walking, like, testimonial of like, surround yourself with the people you want to become.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, it makes me feel like you've been doing this for like a decade with me, right? But like, you're able to evolve
Appreciate that.
so quickly. Can you talk to us? Because I didn't believe this, and I am just so intrigued selfishly to ask you. I didn't surround myself with anyone doing what I wanted to do in the beginning, and I more so read a few books,
Yep.
not really listen to many podcasts. I just executed, and I would hit a wall, I would research, I would overcome the wall. I would hit a wall, research, overcome the wall. And it was constantly doing that. It was not until last year I made the conscious decision by looking around. I was like, there's no one doing the level of what I do. And I felt really lonely. And I was like, I want to surround myself with cool people like you. So
I know that
that's just
feeling.
what I decided to do last year. So for you, how the heck did you decide that so early on? Because I think it's such a beautiful investment and truly belief in yourself. Like, how did you decide that?
Yeah, it was from a book. Yep, I consumed a lot
Okay.
of books. Because, like, here's the thing. When you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of value to offer. We're still in the system. We're still in the matrix trying to claw our way out, to figure out how to, carve our own little space out over here. We don't have anything of value to offer, so why would an Alex Hormozy or a big course creator, and all these people who know all this stuff, why would Tony Robbins want to talk to us? They don't.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything to offer, so what's the next best thing?
Spoiler
Consume their
alert.
content. Yeah, Consume their content.
Yeah.
Right. And so you don't, when I say like surround yourself with these 5 people, it doesn't have to be like you have to get to know, like these people. Like consume their content. Put it in your brain. Train the algorithms on TikTok and Instagram to feed you things that are going to elevate your status. Spend more time on the STEM section of TikTok. Go a little deeper on the business side, like learn some more
Is
about
this
these
STEM
people.
section new? I'm so sorry. I'm like not really
It is.
good
It's
with
like
TikTok.
it's like brand new. It's brand new. And so,
Have you been on there yet?
Yes, it's great. It's a hitter. Geography, math, physics, and space stuff. That's the things I like. But I want to directly answer your question really quick. How did I learn how to surround myself with the 5 people? Was a book called Tribe of Millionaires. And it was an incredibly well-written book. It was a story that just gripped me. And from that point on, someone explained it to me. I just had to hear it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it's done. I'll just do it that way. And so once you get a little bit of cash and you practice it and you have a little bit of money to spend, you can now use that money to go buy yourself membership or buy into a group of other like-minded individuals. And the reason why you have to pay to play is because you have to first prove yourself and vet yourself. You know what I mean? So you join these groups and it's known that if you join this group, you are this type of person because you've paid X amount of dollars and you've identified as this person. Now you belong here and you can find those groups and you can be a part of them. That's like the next step, and then you can start partnering with people and getting them around you and attracting top talent. You can just keep ascending up that ladder. But in the beginning, podcasts, books, and content.
Yeah.
You got to consume it, learn what they have to offer, I think.
I think about that a lot of it's not the physical people you're with if you're listening to podcasts more. It's simply it's all neutral. The people you're with, the people you're communicating with, whether they're talking at you or you're consuming it and you're engaged, you can be really engaged in this podcast right now and you can be getting the energy of Evan and myself. There's ways to really be like that and spend less time talking with your friends, right? If you normally call up your best friend and complain and just complain about how your situation, your circumstance, a practical way I've recommended to people was to first of all stop complaining altogether. It's not serving you.
Yes.
And then number
100%.
2, start fixing that problem instead of using that as just a way to mitigate and stay in the circumstance. It's very fascinating. I remember the year that I was really working on my business, and this was the first year in 2017. I had to say no to so much stuff. I was working as a freelance content creator full-time, 5 days a week, and then I was working on my membership and this YouTube channel, Makers Can Learn, in the evenings. And people would constantly be like, hey, do you want to go get a bite to eat? No. And it just became reflux. And it really took me a long time to actually be like, wait, I can say yes if I want. And then you know what I mean? So do you remember what it was like having to be the oddball?
Yep. Yep.
In your community?
I've lost a lot of friends, Tanner. Lost
Okay.
a lot of friends. Yep. And I'm unwilling to compromise when it comes to the path that I'm on, and I'm not willing to let the crabs in the bucket pull me back down. I'm unwilling. I will not compromise. And so sometimes, I'll have friends or colleagues, people, acquaintances, and I start to grow and I start to level up and I start to learn more. And they don't want to hear it. They don't care. Dude, that's all dumb. Just come hang out with me, dude. Let's go do this instead. Sorry, man. I can't do it. I'm just not interested. These are the things that I'm interested in. And so I lost friends. I did. Lost a bunch of friends in the fire department.
Wow.
Lost a bunch of friends outside the fire department. And not because they're bad people, not because I'm a bad person, but because we were no longer on the same path. Natural. It's going to happen. But the good news is that creates opportunity for more people to come into your life, which I think is special.
Yes.
And I did want to add that, when it comes to that algorithm, like we were talking about earlier, when you could just go scroll on TikTok and just go deep on some of that outrage, right? Because it gets us. It gets all of us. I know nobody's immune to it, right? Or you could go deep on someone who's trying to teach you something. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of power just in your thumb when you're alone. And the reason I bring this up, Tanner, is because what you view, what you intake into your brain becomes your thoughts. And your thoughts
Yes.
become your words. And your words become your actions, and your actions become your character. And it all starts with what you're putting into your brain. So, it's painful and it's uncomfortable. I know, it sucks, but it's how you start that domino.
Yeah.
You've been through it too, dude.
It's so good. But I think it's so good for the group because, like, people see how successful people are, but I wish more people talked about that. I wish more people talked about losing friends in the process because as you talk about it, I remember I used to have a lot of blogger friends. Yeah. So I used to be in like a group of like really great bloggers and they were all very good friends of mine. And we were all doing brand deals, like making traditional revenue as freelance bloggers as we would. And when I started building a product-based business and it was membership-led, people lost it. They thought like, who are you to launch a membership? And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm Tanner, so I'm gonna go try. Like,
don't you know Tanner's amazing.
I really wanted this. Yeah, they didn't at the time. I wasn't yet. I guess they didn't, and they had limiting beliefs around being like a product that could. And I tried to explain this concept to a friend once where I was like, I want my product to not be like just the work I put in. Like I want to build something bigger than me. And like I saw it go like straight through them and they're like, you can't do that. And I was like, okay. So what's funny is, I shared earlier of how like I looked around last year. I was like, I'm friends with no one that does what I do. It's because I also lost all of my blogging colleagues who wanted to just stay at the same place. And I was like, I want to 10x my income. I want to like grow. I want to serve more. I want to reach more.
Yep.
And honestly, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I overcame that. Like, do you ever look back and you're like, I don't know, like how I didn't let that affect me. I guess I was just so bought in. Yep. Like it was just like factual to me before it even happened for me. But it was very similar to the bloggers that I had built a really great group of friends around. Like I'm friends with a few of them to this day, but very few.
And I would imagine that those bloggers helped get you to where you were at that level of success that you had plateaued
100%.
at. And if it wasn't for them, you're like, I wouldn't be here. So it's almost like you feel like remiss. You're just like, am I doing the right thing? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people stop there. And they don't believe in themselves more than they believe in the group think. And so like you uniquely believed in yourself and you were just like, no, I want more. This isn't good enough. And I had said the same thing to myself with the fire department. When I ran the numbers and saw, I was just like, that's not good enough. I want more. I want more for my family. I want to be able to create more opportunity. I want to do this. And so like we are both living proof that, just try it. Shoot your shot. Nobody cares.
Yeah. I am such a big fan of lifestyle design. And I think the lifestyle design aspect of being a business owner is actually the most under talked about aspect of, we can replace money, we can replace a lot of things, but we can't replace our time. Like our time is so sacred and valuable. Would you mind, I would love to know, what has been your favorite thing time-wise, like lifestyle design, that you've done since being your own boss? Like what has your favorite lifestyle design aspect been? I can share mine too if you want.
I would like you to go first so I can have some more context. Like, how would you describe lifestyle design? Are you talking about like real balance? Are you talking about the relationship with your family to work to, freedom and fun? Are you talking about financial?
It's all of it.
Okay, let me hear your take on it, and then I'll piggyback off.
I for lifestyle design, for me particularly, I used to be strapped when I was a content creator to my phone and my beautiful family, but my phone and my email. And my favorite lifestyle design thing that I did was remove email from like a practical standpoint. And then after that, I learned that I didn't have to work Fridays if I didn't want to.
That's right.
Like those are just two like super practical things. I'm very diligent. I meet with people on Tuesdays to give space for more creative. We're both in like very creative leadership roles, content creators.
Agreed.
I need a lot of time to create.
Agreed.
So those are just some practical things. I hired a chef to cook for our family. That's probably, I'm really bad. I'm not bad at cooking. It's just the shopping, the inspiration. It's kind of like working out. Like I go to CrossFit every day. Like those are all the few lifestyle things that I've done to better me so that I can be a better leader and entrepreneur.
Also a better husband and dad too, because they translate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better
Yeah.
leader. You're also a better leader of your family. More kind to your employees,
Exactly.
more understanding, empathetic. You're also more empathetic with your children and your wife. And so that's why I really do say bettering yourself betters your business. I mean, it's crazy. A lot of people, like, it sounds like too obvious, but I really think it is. So some of the things that I've done to design my life in the style that I want it to be designed in,
Yeah.
like I have kids just like you. I get dad hours, like before 7 a.m. and after 8 p.m. I have little chunks, bookends on the day where I can get the things done to better myself. During the day that I work, but I want to make sure that I'm present for my family when they go to school and when they get home, and I'm there. I'm ever present in their life. I really believe in the family. I really believe in mom, dad, kids, the whole relationship. I strive to set an example for my children on how a man should treat a woman and how a woman should treat a man, with the way that we interact together as a family. In solidarity, we are so close, and I think that's such a special thing. But it wouldn't be possible unless I designed my business and life in a way to support it. It's not an afterthought with me. It is the main thought, right? It's the main thought. And so that flip-flop happened a couple of years ago when it was like my wife and I sat down and we created a bunch of categories. And then we design the perfect life in each category. Relationships, giving, business, finance, family, spirituality, fitness, right? All of these categories are where, okay, what's a perfect life look like? And we would go down and write paragraphs on paragraphs, designing each one. So now we know where the end game is. Now we know where we want to go. So now we can say, okay, if this is the design of our life that we ultimately want, what's our driving statement? What's our mission statement? Why are we doing what we're doing? And ultimately, it's to do meaningful work with meaningful people while creating opportunity, as much opportunity as we can for others. And so, okay, we're really clear on where we're going. Now we can use that framework to make decisions. Is this going to get us closer to our goal or take us further away? And so I can ask myself the question, Evan, is sleeping until 9 o'clock going to get you closer or take you further away from this goal? Is working out in the afternoons when you're supposed to be spending time with your kids and your wife, helping out with dinner, is that going to take you further away or closer to your goal? And that's when I was just like, woof. I don't like the answers here, but I'm going to face them head on. And so that's when we really started to do what you do, Tanner, and design the life in a way. You got a personal chef. I started working out before the kids woke up so that I could have more free time with them and better my body, better my business.
Yeah.
I started ending my workday at 4 so I could be present and really, trying to make that mission real. And so, it takes work is what I'm saying. It was not easy work. It's not, fun work always. It's oftentimes quite uncomfortable because you have to go through these things with another person and get really vulnerable about what you truly do want. And just figuring out the question of what do you want is so hard.
Isn't that so hard?
Yeah.
I don't think near enough people, especially in America, I don't think enough of us here in America ask ourselves, what do we want? I get to talk with business owners all over the place, and constantly people are overwhelmed with what they want to do. And my favorite question is, how do you want to make the money? How, if anything could work, how would you make it the easiest? And I think lifestyle design is very similar. You could have your life look however you want it to look.
Right. There's no rules.
Right? There's no rules. We have set thoughts in America, I feel like, compared to other countries.
Oh, yeah.
Each group has different, already preconceived thoughts. But you can go against the grain. And I think if more people did, they would be a little bit happier. I would at least hope.
Well, you think about it, Tanner, when we die, some people are going to show up to our funeral. Some people are going to be standing there just man, when is this going to be over? I got a bunch of shit to do. I'm are they going to feed us? I'm so hungry. My kids are crying. Get in the car. And they're going to get back in the car after your funeral, and they're going to go right back to their to-do list, and they're not going to think about you. Like, and so if that it's like the pinnacle, like the end, right? Then it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, why would you do things for others other than, your immediate like self and family and unit? Like, do it all for them. And so the point I'm trying to make is that those preconceived notions that, we kind of hear through society and growing up and all these things, like, those aren't always true. They're just,
Right.
some people like that kind of stuff. So, like, design a life for you. You did it. You designed a life that you wanted.
Yeah, but it has to be, I think it all started with, I was willing to change the thought of what was the norm. What was I willing to accept? What was I willing to take?
When did that shift happen for you? When was that? Do you know when?
2017.
Like,
2017. I'm telling you, Evan, like, I need another 2017 year. I redid everything. I redid everything. I built so many great products. I built this entire company in that year. I built all the decisions on like what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, who I wanted to do it with, the people. It's been so fruitful for me.
Yep.
I was like, it all happened. The lifestyle design, the business, it all came together once I determined, kind of like what you're talking about, what I actually wanted. Like, it was.
How did you figure that out?
Yeah.
How did you because it's one of the big three questions. What do I want? Who am I? Why am I here? So how did you figure out that question? And did you do it with your wife?
At the time, she wasn't my wife. She was in college.
Okay, fair.
So I knew Courtney's family had like a lot of pressure on Courtney, which of course resulted to me as a potential spouse. Super cool. Could make a whole podcast about it. I need to have my mother-in-law on to talk about it.
Yes.
It would be hilarious. But I knew I had to make a lot more money. And I hate to say this. I knew I had to make a lot more money than what was socially norm here in Tennessee. Courtney's from Philadelphia, okay? Her mom has high standards for her. That's not a secret. And I was like, I gotta get to, her name's Eileen. I gotta get to Eileen level. So I pretty much designed like what I wanted to do and how much money I wanted to make, and I would just reverse engineer every number. And I do this all the time. I reverse engineer everything. So I would set like the huge goal, and then I would break it down like monthly and break it down all the way to the day, kind of like you with like 3 markers a day. Like, it's so similar. The lifestyle design was very interesting because I didn't have a family. I knew I wanted to be a foster parent. I knew I wanted to hit and grow a business. And I knew I had to grow a business that wouldn't take 40, 60 hours of my time a week, because I knew I wanted children and to be a foster parent and to be a great husband. So I knew all these things were going to happen, but they were so far out, like it seemed untangible. And I've never talked about this. This is so funny. I had my lifestyle design fairly quickly, believe it or not. It was shocking to me. So I then sat there and was like bored. I was like, what in the world? Like, I was like, what? So it was very strange, and we've adapted and we've tweaked, and we're constantly tweaking. When I had my 2 older foster kids, I was like full dad mode, driving them to school 5 days a week. And then I wanted to pick them up from school at least 2 days a week. I don't know about you. It was so nostalgic when my mom was the ability to pick me up from school. So I want like that for all of my kids, of like my parents picking me up, and like we're go do something fun, and they're go care about my day, and they're, you know what I mean? Like, we're doing life together, and having the freedom to leave work at like 2:45, 3 o'clock was very hard. Working, being able to get them to school, work out, and then come to work was one of the hardest things to get everything done. But it constantly made me a better leader, delegate better, grow my team better, and so on and so forth. And that's what's so cool, is that you have the ability to constantly evolve and pivot and shift your design because you're the business owner.
It's almost like you were showing up differently. Like a big shift happened and you just started showing up differently in a way, intentionally. A lot of us do things. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it makes me such a better business owner because now, our teams are having their 2nd kid, 3rd kid, whatever. But I'm like able to show up so much better because I'm like, I know what it takes to like support someone having a child now. Like, it's so much better. we're able to show up with so much more compassion, so much more grace, and like really help, hopefully, right? Like that's what it's all about. The people that help us build these businesses, they're the ones that people should brag on. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Ugh, so good.
That was a big shift. Yeah, relying on people, the team, and then investing in them and caring and being empathetic and learning soft skills and taking care of them. And 2 people on my team are pregnant right now. One just had a baby, so I identify with that, dude. Like, I'm like, whoa, I've been there. Like, I will support you. Take as much time as you need. Like, we got this. Like, we're here for you, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. I said yes to newborn twins on a random Friday afternoon. And I didn't really show up for work. I showed up for like 3 events. Like anything I had to be at, I would show up to. But like the next 6 weeks, I was like, I will never forget the first few weeks. I was like, what have I done? I don't sleep anymore. I'd never raised newborns. I was like, what in the world? But my team showed up and showed out and like was so caring. And I'm like, I want to be that. I mean, obviously traditional circumstances, you have 9 months. So it's a little better than the
Not just on a Friday afternoon. Hey, guess what?
Yeah. I'm raising twins now, which is so fun. And they're the sweetest, happiest. They're my pride and joy. I hope to, I don't know about you. The older I get, the less I even care about, and I don't say care. I care very deeply about my customers and my business, but I want to be known more for the real work that I'm doing with these kids. My 2 foster kids that went home, I got to hang out with them last week. It was their spring break. So good to see them. My foster daughter wanted to come spend the night with us and go to church with us on Sunday, so she did it. We had a great time, and she's welcome, all the time. So that's what I really want to be known for. That's the secret, I think. I want to be known for.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot, Tanner. Not a lot of people think that way. Not a lot of people think about the impact they can have on other people's lives, and it's a special thing, man. It's a special thing. Like, I will share this with you. My wife and I came from like the same kind of place, deeply rooted in the system. Your career is your most important thing. It's the most important thing you'll ever do. Like, you must be a productive member of society, blah, 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 the stuff, right? And so when I met my wife, she was working 3 jobs, like, trying to raise this daughter, like just trying to make it happen. And it wasn't until we designed our life, made a decision on what we wanted, that she was able to transition from that mindset of, oh, my career is the most important thing, to, oh, my family is the most important thing. And that was a big limiting belief breaker. And we've talked about this many times, and I'm sure she would be comfortable sharing it. But the thing I'm trying to get at is like, all of this info, all of this, like, this is what you have to do. This is how it's done. Like, this is how you do life. It was wrong. It was wrong. We had it wrong, Tanner. We were doing it wrong. And now that we've focused on what you just said, providing the best possible life for us and our family and our children, it's not only
so special.
Yeah, man. It's just like it's not only like very fulfilling, but like, I don't know, it feels right, dude. It feels right. It feels really good.
Yeah.
And so the reason I bring this up is because, I don't know, maybe there's someone out there who thinks differently and hasn't never heard that before. And it was a really, really special thing for us. Really special. Really, really special. Like, so special, I can't even say it enough times. And I don't know. It's so cool, dude. So cool. I'm so glad you talked about that, man. The joy payoffs.
The people stay until the end. The people stay to the end. Every podcast like gets really juicy the last 10 minutes. It's always the best 10 minutes.
So true.
That's why people stick around. It's so good. And I think these conversations are so important. But Evan, people are going to be obsessed with you now. Obviously, they're going to want to know more about your businesses and the things you do. So can you please share where someone from this podcast could go right now and connect with you the most? Whether it's Scorch Marker, your personal brand, you tell me.
Yeah. Scorch Marker is the company we've been talking about. You just go to scorchmarker.com. You'll find everything. You'll be able to find us and get a Facebook group and all that stuff. So you can see what I'm building. you know. And if you want to see
Yeah.
what I'm teaching, like if you want to see how I'm teaching, how I'm building that, you can look at Vanator growth on Instagram, social media, whatever. Go to
We'll
vanator.com.
link both of it.
Yeah, which is whatever. I don't really care. I just want to make sure that this message is understood, that it's possible for anybody. Like, it really
Yeah.
is. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, I'm a blue collar worker. I'm a fireman. Like, no training. Like, look at what we've been able to build. Like, if I can do it, anyone can. And I just want to make that very, very clear, because it was a special thing that I learned. Special.
I love it. And y'all should totally go look at Scorch Marker's latest branding. It's like on fire. And I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm literally being serious. I mean, get it, Scorch Marker on fire. It's so good. Your team
Appreciate you
did
saying
an
that, man.
exceptional job. Unbelievable. So, Evan, thank you so much for the time coming on the show today, sharing everything, y'all. I don't know. I hope people understand how amazing it is to hear your story and just to hear all the nuggets. Like, I have a whole 2 pages full of like notes.
I got
of
notes
what you
too.
said,
I got
'cause
notes from you too.
I got so much good stuff. So, Evan, thank you so much for coming on. You'll have to come back and share more. I'm sure everyone's going to love it. So, until then, everyone, please follow Evan on all the things. We'll have it linked down below, and we'll see you back here on another Makers Can Learn Unfiltered podcast. Evan, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Bye, Tanner.
See you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching a Makers Can Learn Unfiltered podcast. This has been such a fun time getting to hang out with you, and I want to make sure to let you guys know you can actually watch this podcast wherever you love to watch podcasts. So whether you want to consume it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube with an audio video podcast, we got you covered. And I want to say thank you for hanging out with us today for another episode. If you guys have any questions, be sure to let us know down below. We are always constantly looking for podcast ideas. So if you have a topic you think we should cover that me or the team would love, drop it down below. If you need anything, reach out to hi@makersgonnalearn.com. And if you have not joined our amazing crafting community, check out makersgonnalearn.com. I will leave you an amazing offer right down below to get you plugged in and get started today. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.